Ooh. Lots of cables.
Mm-hmm. To touch my face.
That's right, don't touch the face.
No touching
Don't.
of the face.
Bad.
We are live on Facebook. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you today. There we go. Bum, bum.
Hi, buddy.
Bum, bum. Good morning, good morning. Thank you all so much
Good morning.
for joining us today. I suppose we get started? or-
I think it's time, yeah.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody.
Hello, hello.
How are y'all doing? Thanks for tuning in today. We have no fire today because there's really no need today because it's beautiful outside.
Exactly.
We can't see outside now because we have blankets and stuff blocking all the light out. So
It's true.
it'd be nice to be able to sit and kind of look outside, but that just throws off the camera work. So.
Right, exactly. It's not good for our skin either.
Speaking of skin, I'm going to work very hard today about it's been brought to my attention that I've been setting a bad example about touching face. So if you want to play a little game at home, you can play the count the times that Father Kent touches his face game, and you can let me know at the end of the episode. I'm gonna try to touch it as few as times as possible, because yes, it was a good observation, and so I need to set a good example. So I will try not to touch my face during the entire episode, but if you want to play that little game,
get as close as possible.
we're gonna vogue,
Vogue.
That's a deep cut. Well, not too deep if you're if you're of a certain age, I guess. That was a really big thing there, that voguing. So
Right. There's one actor who's famous for doing that in all pictures.
really,
In many pictures he does that, or many. I'm trying to remember. It's Iron Man. What is his name?
really,
Yeah, he does it all the time. What's his name? Iron Man.
yes, Downey, Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome. So if you got any questions, let us know and type them up in the chat. We're watching both the YouTube and the Facebook. Where's your computer?
Where's my computer? I think it's off the church.
That's a funny thing about this quarantine time. It is very sad that the church is not getting used like it was, and it's very sad that we don't get to see all of our kids and see people in the church. But we also don't really have to clean up after ourselves, to be quite honest. A little bit, but if you look around the church
is not trashed.
It's not trashed, but like for instance, for the Holy Week, when we had to do the transfer from Holy Thursday to Good Friday, we basically just kind of moved everything out into the pews. Normally, I'd take all the stuff all the way out to the narthex or find a place for it or whatever. And we just put it out of the side of the camera. The narthex has our confessional stuff just kind of laying there, kind of haphazard, because instead of putting it away each time, we had to keep bringing it in and out. So we just kind of put it. They are heavy.
Yeah,
yes.
Especially one is less heavy. It's a little smaller, but it's more awkward because it's harder. It doesn't have as many places to hold.
That's true. Yeah.
And then the other one is just large and heavy. It's a tank.
It is. So, and it's beautiful. And Jim Hill made that one too. Jim Hill, extraordinaire, carpenter extraordinaire.
Unfortunately, we did not ask him to put wheels on it.
That's
I never thought we would need them.
So. But Jim, don't get any ideas. It's quite all right.
I won't stop you.
Well,
but,
I guess the wheels wouldn't be too bad. We just have to make sure they get locked.
Yeah.
But they might be a little bit harder to weigh down too, because it's been windy several times. We didn't really calculate in the wind when we were thinking this whole drive-in confessional thing.
Well, yeah.
Or I didn't.
Yeah, you don't think about that sort of thing. And you think, especially with the big one with the big long wings, that would be enough. But no, not with our Kansas Breeze.
That's right. Yeah, there was one time that it was so windy I had to stand up there and hold my thing there for the whole time.
We have bricks that we put on the feet of them.
We've mostly resolved that. If we get a really big gust though, it's a
little tenuous.
Yeah, I have probably some dents in my car from all the times the thing is hit my car. Need a paint touch up or something. But so how do we get on that? Oh, because you asked about your computer.
Right.
And we keep things kind of haphazardly over there at the moment because...
I know right where it is. Just, I think.
It's good. Well, don't see that on camera, I guess. But So welcome. So if you have any questions or comments, we are watching the feed. So let us know. We are here for you. How y'all doing?
It's a beautiful day out.
Yes. I'm gonna hopefully go for a walk later on today, get some exercise. I did not exercise this morning because I was trying to make sure that I was on time for our Tuesday. That's what sets exercise is sometimes my bane, because it usually takes me longer than I think, and then I'm usually late for things after I exercise, so I have to be careful about that. So I was determined not to be late here today. So, and we weren't really late, but we went on a little later than we were hoping, but I was here.
But you're here. Don't worry.
I did not touch, just glasses.
I touched my neck. Is the neck okay?
I don't know. What is that?
Should I wear gloves at all times?
Ear, nose, and throat doctors or whatever.
Right. Can the germs get from here to there? I don't know. So, anyways.
So let me go to my camera real quick to say hi before. It's really sweet. I get to see my nieces each often. I get to see their reactions. My niece's reaction was really quite sweet yesterday. Because yesterday I was talking about how you rode on your bicycle or tricycle, and it was really great, Rachel. So I was really happy to see you on the video. So hello, Rachel. Hello, Rosalie, and hello, Laura. I hope that you are having a great day. I hope you get to go outside today because it might be a good day to get back on that tricycle again and ride around. I don't have a tricycle. If I did, I might go out and ride on my tricycle today, but I don't have one, so there it is. So I hope that you have a great day, and I'm so glad that you are watching today, and I'll see you. Bye-bye. Now I'm going to go back to the other camera.
Okay.
All right. And that's not the O camera anymore. What have you been doing? What have you been reading? What have you been taking in? What have you been watching? We need to be taking time, I think, for study, for prayer, and for recreation during these times. And that's good to kind of continue to exchange what we are doing and how we are sharing and how we are doing all those things. Yesterday, I had a really great meeting with... So I'm part of a priest group, Jesus Caritas, we call it, and I've been part of that ever since I was ordained a priest. We get together traditionally on the third Monday of the month. And we didn't meet last time because that was right as things were getting all crazy and we didn't know what to do, and I'm not sure if any of us really knew what Zoom was or anything. But yesterday we had a Zoom conference for the first time with my prayer group, and it was really nice to, because what we usually do, our normal plan is that we get together for 8 hours a day. And so we meet at 11 o'clock, we have a holy hour, then we have lunch, then we have some free time, then we have some sharing. So that's, and then we go out to dinner. So that's our general plan. And so we had just a real abbreviated time together. We had some time for prayer and sharing. Those were the key pieces. We didn't really have free time because that would be a little bit silly for us to, okay, everyone leave now and then come back. But normally we meet at a place, the Archdiocese owns a house out on Perry Lake. Off of Perry Lake. It's not like on the lake. It's about a mile from the lake. But it's a nice house together.
If we're on the lake.
Sorry,
boathouse.
We have a houseboat. But it's a nice house, and we just enjoy gathering there. But it was really nice for us to be able to make those connections and just to kind of share stories and how we are all dealing with this. We don't often just kind of share the practicalities. We more just share like how are things going spiritually, and we share kind of events that have happened in our life over the past month. And but we did share a little bit of practicalities because these are weird times, and that's always kind of part of the conversation. Usually that happens over lunch. We're just kind of chatting and saying, "Well, what are you doing about this?" So it was really good. So I had a great meeting with my my priest group there on Zoom. So what are you doing to connect with folks, and how are you connecting? There was a, last night, I don't know if people participated in this, but Mary Mueller hosted yesterday.
According to a post that I saw online, I think 16 people participated in it.
That's awesome. That's great.
I think so. Mary, if that's incorrect, please correct us.
So I am going to take us... We have our correspondent coming in for our first time. We want to do more of these, but hopefully this will work, and I will send us to... our correspondent here, Mary Mueller. So here we go.
We'll be gathering on Zoom from 7 to 8 p.m. on Monday evenings. Take an opportunity to sit down, chat, share faith, share a little bit about where we encounter Jesus and how we are finding God in these challenging days. Bring your own snack and favorite beverage and join us for a faith-filled social hour. We will post the Zoom link in the Friday newsletter, and we will also post it to Facebook on Monday afternoon. Again, Monday musings, 7 to 8 on Monday evenings. See you there. Hello, we've been hearing from...
All right, well, there is Mary Mueller, so giving a great feedback there on what's happening, and so we're very excited that she is taking that on, and it sounds like there were 16 people here yesterday, and so please tune in next week if you can. And then also, if one of the things we were talking about yesterday and Friday was about going into kind of phase 2, about seeing other people. I am very open if people want to send in a little video too. We can show that kind of here like we just did. and share 20-30 seconds of something that you're doing. Again, one of the things that the feedback that I'm getting is people want to see other people's faces. People are very appreciative of what we're doing. I'm very grateful for all those notes of affirmation, appreciation that we've been receiving. But I think people do want to see other people. So if you want to send in a 20-30 second video, we will use it as we can.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You had something else to add?
No. Oh, Mary, sorry for interrupting you there. We couldn't actually hear that video, so I assumed it wasn't working.
Oh, yeah. I think it was working. If you want to give a little comment in the
it was.
Chat, but I think, okay, great. It's working. I see that. So so it's nice to have her jumping in. Jen mentions lots of people mentioning prophetic dreams on social media lately. Can we discuss that a bit?
Sure. Generally, I get about 3 prophetic dreams a week, and I plan my whole life upon those dreams.
Do you really?
Yeah, exactly. So, one prophetic dream told me that I was going to win the lottery, and so I actually bought 20 lottery tickets.
Did you really?
And we'll see how those come about. Another one told me.
He's mocking us.
Yeah, that's not at all. So actually, I saw an interesting article about this the other day. I don't remember what source it was on, but it was talking about the fact that more people are having crazy dreams right now, and it's an effect of the quarantine. I have no expertise in this topic, but I can tell you that my dreams have been a little crazier too.
Me, yeah, I would say that too.
And
I mean, not your dreams. I haven't been in your brain, but my dreams have been kind of crazy too.
But the article that I read said it was just an effect of our brain is seeing the same things over and over again, and essentially creating different worlds as a creative outlet for our minds during this time.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know anything about that. In general, what does the church teach about dreams? I think that's an interesting question. The important thing to remember is that the normal way for God talking to us is not through dreams. We see him doing that occasionally. So it's Joseph in the Old Testament, Joseph in the New Testament. We see different events of God communicating to people in dreams, but generally that is not a means that he uses. Generally, dreams have no relation to reality. And psychologically, the classes that I've taken in psychology, most theories of psychology say don't put much stock in dreams.
Yeah.
It's just random, really physiologically, it's random firings of neurons while you're sleeping. People can sometimes have, there can sometimes be meaning perhaps attached to them, but in general, they're not really anything to be concerned about.
Yeah, that's generally my counsel as well. Of if you have a dream that's really troubling, I wouldn't put too much stock into it. I mean, yes, can God speak through dreams? Yes, nothing's impossible for God, but that's generally not the way He's communicating to us. And so generally, my general thing is, it could be interesting to kind of analyze what you're taking in, because sometimes I think that there is. I mean, I've heard that it's kind of a processing there of what you have taken in throughout the day, and your brain is doing a processing thing, right?
Right.
So that could be, something then to consider. What are you taking in during the day? Because that could be manifesting itself in its dreams later on. So, like if you're watching, watching a whole bunch of violent movies or something, and your dreams are really, really violent. Well, maybe you shouldn't be taking in so many violent things during the day, and that would be maybe better.
Right.
So
the question comes out: what if I do something that's sinful in a dream? And the question is always, well, okay, first of all, what happened in the dream you have no control of, so you were not. There is no culpability there. There's no reason to confess anything that happens in a dream or anything like that. You've done nothing wrong necessarily. But the question is always like, what was I feeding myself beforehand that could have brought that idea on or whatnot? So
right, yeah, yep. That's
so it can at times be a good judge of, of that question of how am I living outside my sleeping world. Right.
So, and I usually remind people of what a sin is. Sin is intentionally choosing to do what you know to be wrong. And a mortal sin is intentionally choosing to do what you know to be seriously wrong. Right?
Yeah.
So when you are, sometimes I didn't touch. I almost did.
I may have it.
My nose is itching, but I won't scratch. So when we have like strange, weird dreams or things happen in the nighttime or whatever, I ask, if you were fully awake, would you have done this kind of thing? No, I would not have done. Well, then keep that in mind there, and that your culpability is lessened because you did not have full control of your faculties, and so we want to be mindful of that. Take note of it, but not freak out too much about it. And again, looking at what you did in the day or days before, what you did with your life, and maybe that needs to be adjusted.
Right. Somebody's mentioning that dreams may be representative, and I would actually, not to be too harsh, I would actually disagree with that. Most psychologists, I know, most psychologists, so Freud loved to interpret dreams. He had a whole book called The Interpretation of Dreams, and that has been totally disproven. And most psychologists say these days that there's not really an interpretive value to most dreams. Again, if God's using a dream, perhaps there could be some element of that. But average, every day, it's just a random firing of neurons that are associated with your experiences and memories. That's what most psychologists these days say. One thing interesting to think about along with that is this ties into the question of how do I know if an experience was an experience of God, an experience of my own emotions, an experience of maybe a fear that I have, because we can have sometimes experiences in dreams or experiences in prayer or just going throughout the day. How do I know what those are in a certain way? We call that the interpretation or the discernment of spirits, and generally St. Ignatius has a whole system for this called the Discernment of Spirits, very original title. And he's got certain rules. There's a set of 13 rules, I believe, and then another set of 11 rules after that. I'm pretty familiar with the Discernment of Spirits, and I'd be happy to do a class on it at some point, to be completely honest. Yes. But we can say there's 3 spirits the church calls: the spirit of the evil one, the spirit of God, and the human spirit. So the spirit of the evil one is evil. The spirit of God is good, and the human spirit can be either way. So this is the fact that we desire things humanly. I see a cupcake, I want a cupcake. Cupcakes are tasty. There's that human spirit. Sometimes that cupcake is good; it's a celebratory cupcake. Other times it's bad because it's my 8th cupcake in a day. So that's why the human spirit can either be good or bad. It can lead us to good or bad things. But the evil spirit, generally, in what we would call the first 13 rules, generally does not leave you peace. And the good spirit leaves you peace.
Yep, right.
So if a thought comes into your head or you have a dream and it doesn't leave you peace, generally that was not from God. However, sometimes people, and it's actually more common, especially after we've lost a loved one, to have dreams of that loved one, perhaps them coming back and saying something like, "Don't worry, I'm doing well." That's actually a lot more common than we would expect. And I think a lot of those are gifts from God given to us to have peace. And the question is the peace that I'm receiving long-term or is it short-term? If it's a long-term peace, then we know it's from God. If it's just short-term peace and then it causes us anxiety, it could be from the evil one. So if you have a dream where you feel very peaceful and afterwards it causes you a lot of peace and consolation and you're strengthened in your resolve to live the Christian life because of that dream, it could have been from God. If it doesn't have those markers, it was probably just a random dream.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And the people are saying that they'd love to have some talk on the discernment of spirits.
Yes. I have a whole program, actually, because I did the talk at the parish last year. So
super.
Yeah, we can do that.
That'd be awesome. Mm-hmm. There was mentioned, yes, the scripture does give a few examples of interpreting dreams, and the Annunciation, to Joseph or whatever, happened in a dream, and but again, those are rare. Can God work that way? Yes, but I think many of us perhaps think that we are Joseph, right?
Right.
And okay, Joseph is making this great announcement to me. There's just not that many testimonies. Can God do that? Yes, but it would be extremely rare. Now, I will say that on that dream topic, I can think of 2 moments that were dream-like or something that I do feel that were from God. Both of them happened way back in my college days that I feel, and these are. So this would be in the classification of like personal revelation, what I would, rather than general revelation. Is that the two distinctions? So like the scripture is general revelation for everyone. This is personal revelation, I believe, for me, and that you can disagree with that too. But so there are two examples I can think of, and I'll share them with you. Even though they are for me privately, I'll share them anyway. But when I was in college, I think I was a freshman in college. There was another guy, and they were talking about this thing called lucid dreaming. Do you know lucid dreaming?
Oh, yeah. I tried to train myself to do a lucid dream at one point.
Well, yes.
It's not good to do, I don't think. It's not good for your brain. But go ahead.
Well, see, here's the thing. So lucid dreaming is the point where you can... Is that moment where you are in a dream and you realize, wait a minute, I'm in a dream. And then, if you know how to do it, you can control your dreams. So I won't get into all that because this is part of the private revelation, but I was doing that for a while where I was training myself to lucid dream. And there are tricks that you can do to notice that you are in a dream. And then what they would say is then you can be like go and fly or whatever, and you can do these things. And you can actually, there was a time when there was a dance move that I couldn't do with these tours where you jump up and turn around in the air, and something happened. I think it was my wisdom teeth were pulled. There was some sort of fluid or something that got messed up, that my equilibrium was messed up for months, and I couldn't fix it. Well, what I did is I went and I practiced in my dream doing these tours, and then when I woke up, I was able to do them again.
What?
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
So because I took control in my dream. But here's the revelation part, is that, again, I believe this was God speaking to me. I got like a message like in my dream, like on an answering machine, and the message was, okay, Kent, you are either in or you are out, and but not both. You are either in or you are out, but not both. Those were the words that I remember God speaking to me. And so the message was, you do not do these lucid dreams anymore. I don't know why, I didn't ask why, but I've never done it since. Now there's been times I realize that I'm in a dream, but I don't mess around with it. He says, you are either in or you are out, not both. So
fascinating. Oh man, that's so cool.
That was what I would consider a personal revelation. The other personal revelation that happened,
I don't know why that's gonna bring tears to my head. This is a beautiful thought. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyways, don't lose a dream.
I won't. I tried at one point, but I think it's bad for you psychologically. That's what I've done.
Maybe that's why God's protecting me. I don't know.
I've done some reading on it, and it's partly that whole thing of we really don't want to mess with biological processes, and that is a biological process. And part of what happens during dreams is your memories are processed, and part of what happens during all the sleeping cycles is you're essentially transferring short-term memory to long-term memory. You're dealing with stress. You're dealing with these. Sleep is the most incredible thing. I'm very fascinated by it. But once you start messing with that, then you could have serious psychological issues because you're not actually processing those in the way that you need to. Anyways, go ahead. What were you saying?
So the second one was, again, it's just personal revelation. I remember that, and again, I don't know if I was awake or asleep or in some in between point, but I remember Jesus appearing to me at in my bedroom, like at the foot of my bed or something like that. And I don't remember if I was lying down, I don't remember, but I walked in or whatever and I said, "Oh, Jesus, good to see you." I said, "Oh, good to see you too." And he said, "So Kent, what are you going to do for me today?" And I remember saying, "Oh, I don't know. Probably not much." And I remember him saying, "Then why do I have to give this day to you?" And that has really framed a lot of what I do. Is that every day is a gift from God, and if nothing is done for God in that whole day, why did God even give us that day? And so I keep coming back to that as I do the examination of conscience at night or whatever. What have I done for God today? Because that was a gift that He didn't have to give to me. I didn't deserve today. I didn't deserve yesterday. I don't deserve tomorrow. God might say, "You're done. We're done here." Every day is a gift, and so that's the other thing that I believe. Again, personal revelation God has given to me. So
fascinating.
Anyway,
so that's all to say. Dreams can be used. That's not the general mode by which God does it. Sometimes He does. Most of the time He doesn't. And I think it's important to recognize too, if we get too concerned about interpreting our dreams, then we can start. It can almost become a certain anxiety people have. Like, I need to find out what happened in my dream.
Right.
I mean, okay, it happened. That's what it is. So, relax.
And I've had thousands of other dreams since. Maybe millions. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Probably because we dream all the time. We don't remember it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are the only two in my entire life that I would say were, I think, messages that were from God. Again, as we discern those spirits, do those bring me peace, or do those bring me closer to God? I mean, there's a little disruption of the peace there with Jesus saying, "Why do I have to give this day to you?"
Certainly.
But I think that's he needs to agitate us sometimes and get us going. And then that's right. I need to be doing something.
Right. So that's why one of the things. I just touched my face. Anyways, one of the things that I caution people about when it comes to prayer is prayer always leads to charity, and if it's not leading to charity, it's not true prayer. Yeah. Well, okay. So I don't say love, and I don't say love for a very important reason.
Okay, tell us. because when people hear charity, they hear I need to give to charity.
Right. That's not what we were saying. So,
I know it's not, but
exactly.
I was just clarifying that whatever what was leads to charity.
Prayer leads to
prayer
charity.
leads to charity.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, that does not mean prayer leads to upping your donation to the church or giving to Catholic charities.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to clarify that.
No.
But I wish that we would break our mind from thinking charity means giving to charities. But I think that's why I don't usually use charity, because I think that people think Catholic charities.
Okay, and here's why I don't use the word love in this case.
Right.
This is kind of quibbling. Kind of grab that. But I quibble. That's who I am. So, now, love is the passion that we experience, which is when we are moved towards any good. So, like I said earlier, I see a cupcake. I love the cupcake. I move towards cupcake. I join myself with said cupcake. That is a process. We call that the threefold process of love. You first see it, you desire it, you go towards it, and you are united with it. So, love is a process that we have all the time. It's one of the passions of human beings. And so whenever we say an increase of love, I'm always kind of like, well, of course you're going to love things. We love things all the time. I love coffee. I love lamb.
I love lamb.
So it's not a good movie. But
I love lamb.
I love lamb. Do you actually love lamb? I love lamb. Anyways. But that's the process of love. And so charity is a specific species of love that's oriented towards God. So when we ask for an increase of charity, we're asking to love God more and to see Him as a good, to desire Him, to come close to Him, and then to be united to Him.
Mm-hmm.
If we just say love, to me that's like asking for an increase of the passion. That's sorrow. It's asking for a very general thing, and when we say, that's why I say charity there.
Yeah.
So love God more. That way we can engage in that. And so when we say that, prayer leads to charity. If my prayer is only causing an emotional thing at that moment, but it's not leading to long-term growth in love of God, to where I'm following the commandments closer, I'm praying more, I'm spending more time with Him, or I'm being more charitable to other people, then that prayer is probably not true prayer. It is probably an emotional experience. I'm not saying that's necessarily bad, but we need to go deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing with these dreams. So you may have a moment where it's actually unsettling. People have had visions of hell. That'd be very unsettling.
Right.
Very unsettling. And you may think, with what I said before, that that would be then a fruit of the evil spirit. Not necessarily. If it leads you to charity,
right,
it can be a movement of the good spirit.
Yep.
So if our prayer is guiding us to love God more, then it's true prayer. Mm-hmm. St. Teresa of Avila talks about this all the time. She talks about sisters. I'm a big devotee of Teresa of Avila. So she talks about some of her sisters who are sitting in trances for several hours at a time, and yet are not more charitable because of it. And she calls them out for being false prayer. Her sisters, And I think we can...
Her religious sisters, not her biological
yes,
sisters.
sorry.
Just to clarify, in case you're...
Yeah, exactly. And we can have a temptation with that sometimes, especially when there are forms like Eastern prayer that we try to take and bring into Christian prayer. I'm very hesitant about some of that because a lot of times it can put the emphasis not on charity but on the experience. Again, not necessarily bad, but if it's not purified, then it's not leading towards charity. And then it's not really leading the end of prayer, which is unity with God. So...
Yeah, good. Very good.
Some random thoughts of the day, I suppose. But...
Random access memories.
Let's see. 21 Dreams mentioned in the Bible. MB Reike, you're going on this. I understand. We're not disagreeing that there's potential for God to use them. We're just saying that that's not the general means by which God communicates to us.
Right. Yep. You're big on dreams, I see. Very good. Very good. So awesome.
What time are we looking at?
Oh, it's 10:30.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
we got lots of time. What are we doing?
So, what else have you been working on? What are you doing? How was everyone's dinner last night? That was something that Debbie asked yesterday. And someone else said that the conversation was really good last night. So we're trying to continue to facilitate those conversations. So,
Teresa Morgan says, "What do you think of Lectio Divina as a method for prayer?" Lectio Divina is the prime method for prayer in the church because it is basing your prayer off of God's word itself. And so it is
pretty prime of place there.
Exactly.
Lectio Divina.
I would say we have the sacred liturgy, Lectio Divina, and everything else after that. Really, it's sacred, like the Rosary and those other devotions. The Rosary is basically a type of Lectio Divina.
Yeah. Right.
So it's the prime way. And all other forms of prayer, quote unquote, should come forth from Lectio Divina. So the what we might call Carmelite prayer, which is not really Carmelite, but prayer in the Carmelite tradition, generally starts with Lectio Divina. Prayer in the Ignatian tradition generally starts with Lectio Divina.
So could you give a brief thing of what Lectio Divina is? Yeah,
Lectio Divina is reading sacred scripture and praying over sacred scripture. Simply put.
There you go.
Yeah. So, I do Lectio Divina for about 45 minutes to an hour every single day.
Yeah, great.
Just because and it starts with Lectio Divina, and then our Lord brings it to wherever He wants it to go.
Yep. And like when we were on that retreat, we did like three, like that 30 day was 3 to 5 times a day. Or
five times a day.
Yeah, I think I was 3 for my 8 day.
And you
maybe 4.
And within those retreats, so those are Ignatian retreats. So your spiritual director gives you a particular verse or section to pray over, and you have to pray over that for the full hour.
Right.
And you use some what might be called like Ignatian methods, but it's essentially just Lectio Divina.
Right. Good. And then do you have anything to throw on the ash cam today?
Well, I don't know. Off the top of my head, not much.
What are we drinking, by the way? We never mentioned that.
I think we're drinking...
Do you ground it up?
Caribou... No. Oh, no, we're drinking...
Daybreak?
No, Mr. Dickinson's blend.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Is that what that's called?
Major Dickinson's.
Major Dickinson's blend, yes. Yeah. So, it's tasty.
It is tasty. What do you have anything to throw on the ash cam today?
If you guys would like, I can always throw on. This is a poem over which I was praying yesterday.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I
present to you the ash cam.
This is another one of the Divine Sonnets, Sacred Sonnets from John Donne. You can tell that I bought the book at Half Price Books. And this is just number 1. But I think it's a really, very beautiful poem. Thou hast made me, and shall thy work decay? Repair me now, for now my end doth haste. I run to death, and death meets me as fast, and all my pleasures are like yesterday. I dare not move my dim eyes any way. Despair behind, and death before doth cast such terror, and my feeble flesh doth waste by sin in it, which it towards hell doth weigh. Only thou art above, and when towards thee by thy leave I can look, I rise again. But our old subtle foe so tempteth me, that not 1 hour I can myself sustain. Thy grace may wing me to prevent his art, and thou like adamant draw mine iron heart. I love that those last two lines. Thy grace may wing me to prevent his art, and thou like adamant. Adamant is a magnetic metal. And thou like adamant, a magnet, draw mine iron heart. And so he's saying his heart is iron, and yet it's very much because his art is iron that our Lord can draw it.
Adamant.
It's the fact of the matter. So, whereas what this shows, and what John Donne is saying there, is that often we think of our imperfections as barriers to God. And in one sense they are, but in another sense, many times our imperfections are the very ways that he draws himself to himself. Draws us to himself.
Yeah.
But isn't that beautiful?
It's
Think
beautiful.
about that? So often we should always be striving to be we should always be striving to be pure of imperfections. But often when we allow our Lord just to work through who we are, that's the way that we are drawn to him most successfully. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So
very good.
And thou like adamant draw my iron heart.
Is that like adamantium, like a Wolverine?
I think so, yes.
Mm-hmm. Carly has a question here.
Are there any Rosary, Deluxe Divina, personal prayer? A lot of people like to talk about types of prayer, and I don't really buy too much of that. I think there's one type of prayer, and it's essentially all the other questions are what are the means by which I can come to that one type of prayer?
Sure. Okay.
Now, how can now there are certainly different types when it comes to the different spiritual experiences, and St. Teresa goes into a lot of those. But fundamentally, the one type of prayer is uniting your heart to God. And so whatever mean you're using to unite your heart with God, and whether it's Lectio Divina, meditating over sacred topics, the Rosary, whatever it brings you to that is going to be the most effective.
Mm-hmm.
The first step of which is to clear one's mind, generally is not a good form of prayer. Because I would argue that generally that's not trying to unite oneself to God. That's generally a form of it. So to get a little more complicated, to try to simplify the topic,
please.
We work by having images in our mind. So you can't think of something without thinking of the image. I say hippopotamus, you think of a hippopotamus in your mind.
I did.
Mm-hmm. I say rainbow hippopotamus, and you think of a rainbow hippopotamus.
I'm trying not to, but I did.
You do? That's just how we work. And so for us to want to love something, we have to have that first image in the mind. Because you have to know something to be able to love it. And so all true prayer starts with that idea of forming an image, forming an idea, forming a concept, and then growing to love it more. So thinking about the scene in the Nativity, looking at it, imagining it, forming that concept in your mind, growing in love of the Nativity scene, and then being in more love with our Lord. Maybe then coming forth from that experience of growing in love with him with certain directives for yourself. Like, I'm going to try to embrace poverty more because of this experience with the Lord. However, eventually, our Lord will want to try to take those images away from you because we turn to love the images more than we love him. But if we try to take those images away, then we're doing God's work first. So we're trying to usurp him. So any prayer that the first thing they do is they take the images away is not a true form of prayer, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to usurp the important part of growing in love. And you're trying to go directly to the effect. You're usurping God's place. So that's why there are some prayer types that say, okay, they use a mantra and try to clear your mind out. I'm very, very uncomfortable with those because they take out the process of love and they try to go directly to the point where God has to take the image out. You can certainly do what Teresa Avila calls prayer of recollection, an acquired prayer of recollection. We don't need to get into all that. I can do a class on this at some point. I'm very fascinated by this, so obviously. But generally, if you're thinking like, how can I pray more? The best way is anything that helps you to form images in your mind that you can then love. That will be more effective. If you find like there might be meditations that are good for you, I highly suggest using Ignatian materials, which those are just people who follow. Those are just materials that may be following the prayer tradition of Saint Ignatius of Loyola. I highly suggest any book that has. There's a wonderful book called Divine Intimacy. It's a beautiful book, and all of those are helping you to form images so that you can go to love those images. So that's my answer. I know that's all not the answer that some people like, because a lot of people like tricks for prayer, and I think there can be tricks in prayer, like tricks to help you get into that situation of loving, but fundamentally it's just the hard work of forming the images and then loving and growing in love of God that way.
Right. I mean, it might be somewhat similar to like dieting, right? People want the tricks to lose weight or whatever. Yeah. What's the least work and most weight that I could lose? But generally, I think what we seem to come back to over and over again is discipline, do your exercise, and eat less.
I had a professor.
I mean, I know that there are more complicated situations depending on personal situations, but generally, for a healthy person without a whole bunch of complications, discipline, exercise more, eat less. And we want to go, well, let's do this program, let's get this trick. That doesn't usually work. And then you put those pounds on again or whatever. It might work for a little bit, and then it doesn't sustain. So prayer is similar. You be consistent, discipline, and spend time with the scripture. And it's very hard. I mean, that's the other thing is people don't want prayer to be work, I think. And it's hard. And that's why people don't do it. And they do it at first because it's great, it's fun. At first, usually, and then it gets hard, and that's part of the sweetness, I think, of the God drawing us in. But then He wants us to work and to be good at that. I use the example often of Alex Gordon, who is one of my favorite baseball players because of his discipline, and the other baseball players tease him a little bit, but he sets a great example because, I mean, he is so disciplined. He does not eat doesn't like eat any fat or whatever. I mean, he eats fat, but he's very strict about his diet. He's very strict about his exercise plan, and he knows that he needs to do these things to maintain himself as a professional baseball player. I mean, I think he's a very good baseball player. I don't know him all that well, but I mean, he's obviously a professional baseball player. But he might be a little bit lacking on what some people might have as he's just natural talents, and he has to work a little bit harder, and he does, and he sustains, and he gets these Gold Glove awards every year. So, but that's through his hard, disciplined work, and that is a great example for all of us, and for the baseball players, for prayers. To do that. Yeah,
there's a great book, and there's two things I want to talk about. The first one is there's a great book out there called Grit. I think it's titled Grit.
Okay.
And it's just all about how generally the most people who are successful in life, generally, are not those who are most naturally talented. They're the ones who have the most grit. They're the ones who do what you're saying.
Alex Gordon has grit.
And I think it's a very fascinating topic. That a lot of us think, oh well, I'll never be that good. Well, do you have grit? Do you want it? You want it bad enough? Generally, I'm not. Prayer is the work of God in you, so I don't want to get too Pelagian here. But if you have grit, or you decide that I want to be a person that has grit, I'm going to decide to do this. You can be the greatest saint.
Yeah.
You could, if you cooperate with God's work, you could be the next Teresa of Avila. Every person who's listening to this.
Yeah. Right.
Every person here. And so the second part, I was dancing around this topic, but I'm going to disagree here, Don. I was dancing around this topic. I don't think centering prayer is safe. I don't. Centering prayer is a type of prayer where they try to take an Eastern method and apply it to a Christian context, and it does what I said earlier, which is try to usurp the place of God there, of taking away the images. I don't think centering prayer itself is effective. You may disagree with me, but that's just my opinion from the research I've done. I
know that lots of people have found it to be very helpful, but again, so
yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to dance around the topic, but you played.
I saw you dancing.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it comes down to that idea of what is love. Love is this threefold movement, and if you try to take out one of those aspects of the movement of it, then it's not truly love.
So yeah, that might be a good discussion, Dawn, for you and Father Ashmore to have there, because I know that you really love that centering prayer, and I found it. I know that lots of people have found it to be very, very helpful, and I think part of the element of centering prayer is that we do need to strip ourselves down of lots of things to enter into prayer. And when our lives are often very noisy, lots of those things need to be dropped as we enter into prayer. And yes, I think that the key there is that find that core of who you are. That's true. And I think that is a grace of centering prayer. That you say, okay, where am I? Who am I at the center? And is God there? I think that is very key, but it does have to go somewhere, I think, and then to really allow God into that space, I think, is the piece there. Yes.
Okay. Oh, so the book that I said was Divine Intimacy, and I don't know who the author of that is.
Divine Intimacy.
Mm-hmm. It's just a collection of meditations for every day of the year, I think.
Yeah. Is it like a 3-volume thing?
No, one volume.
Oh, Divine Intimacy. Yes, I have that somewhere.
It's quite good. I think it might be connected to the old calendar, so it doesn't always exactly line up with the readings today, but it's generally the Sundays are pretty close.
Yeah,
so.
my spiritual director really recommended that years ago.
Gabriel, how do you say? Gabriele di Santa Maria Maddalena.
Okay.
I don't know. Father Gabriel, St. Mary Magdalene.
Yep. Very standard spiritual reading there.
But it's really quite good. The Ignatian, I don't have any particular ones off the top of my head for the Ignatian method, but that a good book is called The Discernment of Spirits by Father Timothy Gallagher, and he does a really great job of going through it all. And
he's pretty approachable, I think. That's who led our retreat there in Florida.
Oh, really? Timothy Gallagher is a great guy. Yeah.
Very good. So we're running. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's 10:50.
Holy cow!
Here we go.
Hopefully.
Well, thanks for tuning in. This is a good discussion, I think, about dreams and prayer, and hopefully you have enjoyed the conversation here. Mm-hmm. So that pretty much wraps up our time. I don't know if there's any other further questions or debates, or take Father Ashmore down and throw down about prayer. So, so then what was my count here? I was trying so hard. My nose is itching so much here, but I think that I had maybe one face touch. So if anyone was keeping track at home how many times I touched my face, I was trying to be really, really careful about that today, because I don't want to be setting a bad example. We want to be observing all these things that the CDC instructs us to do, and what we are instructed to try to keep everyone safe and healthy, and not to jeopardize anyone, and the people that are working so hard. We want to honor them, and so we want to be doing what we can to participate in our part. So I want to be setting a good example. So
we're trying our best.
We're trying our best, or not.
Yeah,
we'll go there again.
Yeah. Before we go, one topic is I'd love to do a class on prayer at some point. So I might consider doing that. I'll look at that over the next day or so to see what I can do there. And I've also been thinking about perhaps doing an early morning thing for people who are working.
Oh, good.
So my first thought was maybe a men's group in the early morning, but maybe not just has to be men. If anybody's interested in anything at like 6 o'clock in the morning, I'd be very open to doing that, because I know that some people can't get to it, or you have children in the evening, so it's hard. But while we're here in quarantine, I'll be up. So
okay.
I get up at 5:30 in the morning, so I'll
wow. I am not. So so very good. All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow, 10 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
All right.
God bless you all.
And school mass tomorrow at 8:30.